Welcome to our March 5th, 2019 Board of Commissioners meeting. And first, I'd like to ask Dr. Michael Collier, Rosewood First Baptist Church, come up and give our invocation.
I appreciate Joe asking me to be here. I just kind of wanted to say a word about how if we belong to the Lord, He's going to be with us even when we may not realize it. Our Sunday school class lately has been studying the story of Joseph in the Bible. If you don't know the story of Joseph, shame on you. I mean, read the last 10 chapters of Genesis and you can hear about Joseph. But he was one of these guys that was a spoiled brat, and he kept having all these dreams that all of his family was going to bow down and worship him. His dad loved him to death. Jacob gave him a multicolored coat, if you remember that. His brothers hated him. And when he was 17 years old, he went to check on them, and they decided to kill him, but then changed their minds and threw him into a pit. They sold him down to Egypt, and one of Pharaoh's officers, Potiphar, bought him, and he became the manager of Potiphar's home at 17 years of age. That's pretty good. And yet, the wife of Potiphar kind of lusted after him and got him in trouble. He didn't do anything, but he wound up in jail where he interpreted a couple of dreams and was in jail for quite a while and was wondering where God was in his life. But then Pharaoh had a dream, and one of the guys whose dream he had interpreted told Pharaoh about Joseph. And so Joseph went in there, interpreted Pharaoh's dream, wound up the governor of all of Egypt, and when he was 30 years old, for 13 years, if my math's right, 13 years, he was in jail and a slave and all of this, and all of a sudden he's a governor of Egypt. And finally, with this famine that came on the land, Joseph had provided plenty for Egypt, and his brothers, the other 10 of them, 10 of his other brothers, came to buy grain. And he tested them 2 or 3 times. And on their second visit, he explained who he was. And they were shocked. And this is what, I just want to read this verse and then have a prayer. This is what he told his brothers. He said, "Don't be afraid. Am I in the place of God? You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives. So then do not be afraid. I will provide for you and your children." And he reassured them and spoke kindly to them. You know, for all of those years that he was a slave, that he was, depressed probably, wondering where God was working it all out. And he does that in our lives too. We come into crisis in our lives and we wonder where God is. But if we trust him, he has a plan for our lives, and he has a plan for our county commissioners as well. Amen. Let's pray. We thank you, Lord, for this day and for your many blessings. We thank you for being with us even when we don't realize that you have a plan for us, and guide us as we listen to you, and may your Spirit just speak to our hearts. Bless this board, this county commissioner board, and guide them as they go about the business of our community. Give them strength and understanding. And Lord, may we all serve you together. In the name of Jesus our Lord we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please stand and face the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Could I have a motion for the approval of minutes for February 19, 2019? Motion made. Any discussion? All in favor, please signify, raise your right hand. Discuss adjustment agenda, Mr. Honeycutt. Anything?
No adjustments this time, Mr. Chair.
Any commissioner? Could I have a motion to approve the agenda for March 5th?
So moved.
Motion made. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by raising your right hand. Thank you. All right, Mr. Honeycutt, we've got special presentations now.
We do. Like to introduce James Wade, who is the Executive Director in the Maxwell Center, and it's kind of a special time here in Wayne County. It's a year anniversary of the opening of the Maxwell Center, and we wanted to kind of do a small recap and kind of a celebration, so I'll turn it over to James.
Thanks. So I'm not going to talk a real long time, but it has been a year. We opened March 1st, 2018. This date last year, my staff had just finished working a couple of weeks of 100+ hours per week. And instead of taking the day off, we were resetting the building for the Chamber of Commerce Career Fair and STEM Fair, which happened immediately after our opening. It's happening again this year, but it's in a couple weeks from now. And so we opened the building. We were very apprehensive at that time that everything would go well, but we had a wonderful grand opening weekend. I believe most everyone up here was there, which we appreciated. And so in our first 365 days, I can do that here, okay. We had 200 event days this past year and over 50,000 patrons. Again, we count an event day as a day that there's an event moving in or an event happening. And so the number of events that we've had in the past year has been well above what we actually projected, and so that is a very good thing. In our first 365, operationally, we are exceeding our budgeted income, thanks especially to rental of facilities, the sale of alcohol, beer, and commission, and food and beverage commissions. All of those things are well above what we budgeted. Some of them quite a bit above. We hit our rental of facilities budgeted number back at the end of October, actually. So we're hoping to keep that going and have a good fiscal year. We did win in our first year the Convention South Readers' Choice Award. Over 2,000 venues nationwide were put up for that award. Only 20 in the state of North Carolina ended up winning, and we were one of those, so we're very proud that we won that award. We're celebrating our first 365 in several ways. We are promoting, in the current edition of The Buzz, there's a 4-page center spread, which we're going to give you a copy of that here in a minute with some stuff. In mid-March, Go Magazine will come out. We will also have the 4 center pages of Go Magazine. And then we're promoting our anniversary on Facebook, Twitter, all the social media. We actually have a contest called the First 365. When people go to our website, they can sign up to win a $500 credit toward equipment or room rental. And so that's open to individuals, it's open to companies. And so far we have had quite a few people already enter that, and it just started. We have our, with that giveaway, we've been running a Facebook promotion, and so far our Facebook promotions have been viewed by about 8,000 people just in the last 4 days. So that promotion runs for a couple of weeks, so we expect to get a lot of publicity out of that. Because of our booking policy, we only book large shows out more than 9 months. Smaller shows come along, and actually a lot of our really tiny shows where it's a meeting for 20 people, a meeting for 40 people, some of those don't come to us until a week or 2 out sometimes. So we're constantly booking rooms that are available. But as of right now, we already have 145 event days on the calendar for the next year from March to March. And so right now that's looking very good to already have that many events on the calendar. A lot of those events that have already booked are some of the events that are larger, since we're one of the only places around where a group of more than 400 can come together for a banquet or a dinner or a dance or whatever. A lot of our events that have been very large have already booked for the next year. And so we're excited about that. I'd like to thank my staff. Most of them are here today. Amy had to stay home and watch the desk in the lobby, but everyone else is here. My staff does a great job. They work a lot of hours. our evaluations from clients come back, 99.5% of them, everything is positive about the staff, so I appreciate everything they do. And we did just do redo our website, so please make sure that you take a look at our website. And we have a little video that Carol, Joel, and Bria put together for us, and we're going to show you that.
This story began decades ago as a wish and a dream for many in the farming community. Our current Wayne County Board of Commissioners set out to build a facility that would be a home for agriculture, our #1 industry, as well as provide a state-of-the-art convention center for Eastern North Carolina. This was the birth of the Maxwell Center. Years of hard work and planning paid off when the ribbon was cut and the Maxwell Center was open for business. Hosting events for Seymour Johnson Air Force Base, Wayne County Public Schools, Wayne Community College, the North Carolina Symphony, the Wayne County Sheriff's Office, breast cancer awareness, local businesses and corporations, and most appropriately, events in agriculture. The Farm Credit Farmers Market opened on the grounds of the Maxwell Center, providing fresh farm-to-table fruits and vegetables. The Farmers Market proved to be a valuable asset during Hurricane Florence, collecting donations for those affected by the storm. Award-winning 200 event days and over 50,000 guests. Happy one-year anniversary to the Maxwell Center.
Unless anyone has any questions, we do have some bags that we're going to pass out to you guys and to the folks here, unless someone has any questions.
And we also have a cake for you guys to thank you for making this past year possible for the Maxwell Center and the county.
Cool. So we'll take just a minute to pass stuff out.
James, before you go down, I just wanted to thank you guys for doing such a great job. We never expected you to make money. So you have achieved that and done better, so that's important.
Exactly.
Great job.
That's very good.
Oh, okay.
Oh, we got colorful bags now. Look at there, look at there.
Yeah. I like to save it for after lunch. I like to save mine for after lunch. Well, I understand.
All right, that's good.
Oh, thank you, James.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I would also like to thank the staff, and I've had the occasion of going out to the Maxwell Center for right many events, just like all of us have. But that's one of the best things going on in Wayne County right now. And if we can just get the facility a little bit larger, or we can book some larger events, that will be great. We are
Ready to
missing,
build on some
we're
more
missing, we're missing out on a lot of sales tax. So that's all I'm going to say.
We saw your wish list.
Well, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
one of the first things that was asked of me
when the Maxwell Center was conceptualized and it hit the newspaper. How available would it be for all citizens? And believe me, that has been a very welcome opportunity for folk to know that that is a big new public facility that has no privacy language attached to it or any concepts. So it's very available to everyone, and I've seen some very diverse
Yes.
groups out there. Thank my fellow county commissioners, but thank all the folk who had a play in that, the farmers and the public and everyone.
We appreciate that, Mr. Cromartie. And it is true that we have had such a variety of events, way more different types of events than we ever would have expected in this building. I mean, there's really not much of anything we haven't had. I believe Wayne was having a conversation with Senator Perry out when he was out there for his swearing-in ceremony, and we were talking about all the different events. And he said, well, I think we've had pretty much everything but a funeral. And I said, no, actually, we've had a wake service. We have literally done just about everything.
I didn't know that.
And Mr. Chairman, if I like a few remarks. That is, I recall the days when we first started out with this, and Commissioner Pate spent many, many hours and many sleepless nights over this issue. But I remember when we started out, if you had only seen the original drawings, you would be amazed. Because I think we started out with a structure that would seat somewhere in the neighborhood of 350 to 400. And to have it expanded as we did. And I think we did get some pushback in regards to the concept of going that large. Actually, we should have made it larger, but it's a big, big plus for Wayne County, and I thank you and your staff for a great job. Thank you.
Mr. Bell?
I would just like to say my biggest project back during those days was trying to prevent one particular commissioner from putting concrete floors in there rather than the carpet and stuff like you have now. But I won't call his name, but his initial is Ray Mayo. But we got it done anyway. And by the way, I did not attend the opening, as you stated a few minutes ago. I was in Duke Hospital having a major operation, so glad it went along okay without me. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, one other thing.
You've been there since, though, quite a few times.
Yes. Oh, yes.
You know, as much as we put into it and as great as it is, but we're still missing one valuable component, and that's the Craig Honeycutt pig cooker.
Yeah, and all God's people said. We have not.
So we gotta work on that this year.
Mr. Bell and I, we have not forgotten my pig.
That's right. I forgot to mention that.
Yes, sir. So we'll.
That's coming.
Yes, sir.
Just remember, go for private funds. It's going to be a tight budget year.
Like Concrete Mayo.
Craig
Go
will pay
ahead.
for it.
You got concrete, man. Mr. Bell, it does have concrete floor, we just covered them. No, it's been a long time coming. This goes back, what, 20 years or so? When it first started being
Yeah,
talked about.
2000, year 2000.
Yes, yeah, Commissioner Bell was right in the middle of that, but great job, great job. I'm surprised that we're able to stay within the budget. That's a tremendous feat your first year. I would say we really need to keep our eyes on the ball, though. We need that hotel.
Yes, sir.
So that's the next big thing to give us a shot in the arm. Am I correct, Mr. Wade?
Yes.
Okay.
The biggest challenges we have are the hotel for some of the bigger events that want to come to town. And then the other biggest challenge is just space, because like we have a couple of conventions that are coming in May, even though we didn't have a hotel, they're staying elsewhere. One of them got displaced from New Bern because of the flooding. They can't have it in New Bern. And so they're coming here to try us. But it's a medical field thing, and I've been talking to them on the phone, and one of the challenges is they have 24 vendors, and one of the vendors has a crate that they want to send early, and the crate is 70 inches tall, 72 inches wide, and 83 inches long. And so quite a few vendors have that those types of crates that they want to send to us early and us store. Well, I don't have any place to store those because I have events going on leading up to their event. And so that is another future challenge with having the bigger events come things that we don't currently have the ability to do that we're trying to work on.
And I do want to mention as well, we do want to thank, also and congratulate the city of Goldsboro as well. And without their partnership.
We should mention them, shouldn't we?
On the land.
I agree.
They've been a really good partner with us on this building. And we are working very closely with them to push for the hotel on site. But again, I want to thank the staff. It is incredible to see the variety of events, and it's something this board should be very proud of.
As well as we should thank City of Goldsboro and Mount Olive as well for the occupancy tax.
And all God's people
And the
settle.
legislators that work so hard to get it passed for us.
And let's not forget all the private donations out there from the business and farming community that really, matter of fact, that's the reason it's got the name Maxwell only.
And we did make sure that all those folks are included in our Buzz Centerpiece issue and our Go Magazine sponsors. All of those folks are mentioned and thanked.
Very good.
Once again in those, because we do appreciate all that.
So, James, thank you, but how about introducing the real backbone to the Maxwell Center? Have them stand and
I can. So our IT person, AV person, we have a lot of TVs, we have the immersion room, we have lots of high-tech audio visual, and so Jose Perez takes care of all of that for us. We have 2 event managers who take care of every client that comes in the building is assigned an event manager, and they're with them from the time things start until they leave the building. So this is Camille Gayton. She is one of our event managers. And this is Marisha Simmons, who is our second event manager, and they put in a lot of hours. If we have a client who's in the building from 6 a.m. until 1 a.m., these ladies are with that client all of those hours, so they take care of the clients. We have a venue services manager, which his position takes the work orders that the event managers write, and he makes sure that the rooms are set with our part-time employees. Darren Phillips takes care of getting the rooms ready for the clients and doing changeovers and all of that good stuff. And then our director of sales is Christina Williams. And so she meets with folks, gives tours, constantly answers emails and phone calls, giving people information about the building and what they can do and how we can go about doing it. And we personalize every proposal for what someone wants to do, because no 2 people want to come in and just use the exact same room. So we set it up the way they want it, we use the equipment that they need, and we make it work for them and their event.
You got one more.
And then,
You got one at home, so.
oh yeah, Amy Karsten is at home. She's our front desk receptionist. She meets and greets everybody who comes into the building on a regular business hours throughout the week. And yes, she is at home, making sure that everything is good while we are here.
And yourself.
Oh yeah, and I work occasionally.
all right, now we have a second special presentation.
We do, and as part of the Maxwell Center, we do have the Farm Credit Union Farmers Market, which has been open since June of last year. And appreciate the work that Kevin and his staff has done out there, and it really is an incredible compliment to what we do at the Maxwell Center to have that second option there with the farmers market as well. So we appreciate Kevin and his staff as well. So
There we go. Good morning, gentlemen. I'm going to take this minute to maybe go off on a little tangent. The ag agencies also moved over there, and y'all know where our previous location was. I love to tell everybody about it. It rained more inside the building than it did outside the building. But yeah, we moved over in February, and it's been a wonderful experience. Our programs, not only for our farmers and our ag agents, but from ECA and Family Consumer Sciences to 4-H, all our programs have really grown. I can tell you Ashley and Soil and Water are happy, Farm Service is happy, so from the ag agency side, it's been wonderful. Christina and I talk almost daily because we're lining up meetings for our programs. A lot of our farm meetings have gone over there, and I know in y'all's communication with the farmers, they're extremely happy with what's happening. So, do want to talk briefly about the farmers market. And just before I introduce y'all to Jessica, just want to let you know there's been a lot going on. We actually are utilizing the farmers market all the time, even in the wintertime. Even though it's not open as a farmers market, we have 4-H clubs meeting out there, including our shooting sports. So they're shooting bow and arrows and stuff out there in the wintertime. The beekeepers have been making bee hives out there, or putting together their beehives. We've had garden workshops out there. So it's been a good environment for us, whereas our offices in the Maxwell Center wouldn't work. So it's worked out for that. But I've talked to Dr. Walker at Wayne Community College. There used to be a bridge that went across that big ditch. It's a 30-foot ditch. And it kind of separates the college from the Maxwell Center. We've got a Boy Scout that's going to be building that bridge back for his Eagle Project in the next couple of weeks. So we're excited about that. And so we're probably going to get some demonstration gardens going on out there. So there's a lot of good things happening. So, but I do want to introduce y'all to Jessica Strickland. She's familiar to y'all. She's been here for years as our horticulture agent, and she's going to kind of give us an update of some things going on at the farmers market.
Good morning. Want to give you an update on the farmers market and the plans. We're working towards our grand opening that we're going to open the market on April 11th. Last year we had waiting on the building, and then the hurricane caused it to close early. So we just had a short few months. Last year we had 8 vendors, some full-time, some part-time, coming just certain days. And so we gathered them, the ones that were returning. We've got 4 full-time ones returning this year. And we talked to them, received feedback. And one of the things was to adjust. We tried Tuesday, Friday, Saturday, but that Tuesday was a weekday, not a lot of traffic after the first few weeks. So we're going to do the days in operation this year on Thursdays and Fridays, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., and Saturdays, 9 to 2. So that way those days are together. That allows them to keep their displays set in place and just replace the perishable produce and such as they need to through those 3 days, so they don't have to bring it in, take it away, and bring it back then a few days later. We've got one of our plans with the Farm Credit Farmers Market was to have special days to draw people in. So you've got a schedule there of our events. The opening day on April 11th. And then we've got different days. A lot of these days are to help customers know what's in season when. So strawberry days right at Mother's Day weekend, which is the big weekend for strawberry growers. Then we'll have blueberries, tomatoes, watermelons, and all this was based on talking to our vendors to see what is the best time frame when they would have those products ready. We've also included where our master gardeners had a garden festival plant sale last year, and it was a huge crowd and just a few hours on a Saturday. So we've expanded that to 2 days, and that will be tied in with the schedule of the farmers market, so people can come to their garden festival event, plant sale, but also benefit from the farmers market that it's open in. So we were tying in some of our previous events with the farmers market as well to for both of them to take advantage of the same customer base. Pollinator Day. Our Beekeepers of the Noose, our local bee club, is going to be there that Saturday. That's National Pollinator Week, and they're going to have information about beekeeping, samples of honey for sale, and so forth. So we've tried to tie in our different groups throughout the season. And these special days, we'll have our master gardeners out there to answer questions, to share information about extension. Michelle, our food and nutrition extension agent, will do a cooking demo based on whatever that product is for the day. So if it's strawberries, she'll have some type of strawberry recipe to share and a cooking demo to go with that. So just to have some special occasions and advertise to draw people in on those days. Currently, our vendors, we've got 18 applications, so we've got a lot of interest, especially starting in the season where we're going to hit that April, May, June, the busiest time. And a lot of them are produce, but we do have some that's looking at selling meat, pork products that they've raised on their farm. We've got a few trying to venture into some maybe cut flowers and such, and some honey, eggs. So there's a mixture of some things in there. And we expanded it this year that if we have the space available, that somebody with a craft could come in if the space was available. But we'll always give the priority to a farmer, a grower first with those spaces. But the crafts will be good. We've got a couple interested that they can tie in when the season starts to slow down on in October, November, to keep the market full. So we've got 9 to 10 of those applications are looking at full-time, being out every day of the week, all times. So we're looking at a much fuller farmer's market potentially for this year. So this month we're planning, organizing, going out, doing farm visits with the vendors, talking to them, getting to know them, building that relationship, and learning about their operations. So we've got those talking points as we jump into advertising and getting ready for the market to open. Yeah, so that's our plans for this year. Any
comments?
questions?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Of course I do. I'm very pleased to see that you guys are running that thing, something going on out there full time, because I was worried about that thing sitting empty out there, so you got something going on. And now we got
If it were empty long, James would come out there.
and now we got the farm animals on top of the building. I knew something had to be happening.
Yeah, we got the cupolas up, and Barry and Kendall, thanks for y'all's work getting that done. And, you know, we're gonna get some planters out there, and like I say, we're gonna put some gardens and make it attractive.
And I'm really glad to see you got events going on through the rest of the year, because that needs to happen. And open it up a little bit more to crafts if there's space available.
And we're not gonna turn anybody away. Even if we fill it up, we can put a tent up out there in the parking lot.
So if they want to sit up outside, they've got that option.
Because I may not even raise a garden this year, so you need to have all of
Take
it.
care of it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Anyone else?
Just want to say thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, good
I
job.
mean, this is a group effort. I mean, the Maxwell Center, the farmers market and all, you know, one of my favorite sayings is, you know, I can't get anything done, but we can move the world. So it's all a joint venture.
And we do have our farmer's market manager. She's part-time Joyce McLam, and she's there daily, opening and closing, cleaning up, checking on the vendors and such. So give her a lot of credit. She puts in a lot of effort to check with the vendors and see, you know, what we can always do to improve.
Let's put one little pitch in on Fridays too for the curb market.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, let's not forget that.
Yeah.
So
Don't
both will
forget-
be open
I
same
mean,
time.
Mr. Parker hadn't forgot it, but you know, some may have.
Yeah, absolutely. We want people to come out on Fridays for the curb market, and it had a little lull there for a few months, but it's rebounding. We're starting to have big crowds, plenty of homemade foods, pastries. So definitely come out. Sir?
Collards?
Collards and collards, absolutely. Come get your collards.
Yeah.
Well, thank y'all very much. Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin.
Okay, next is our public comments time. Anyone would like to speak before the board? We'd like to ask you to limit to 4 minutes.
That's good.
That's good. So we'll close that and
Uh-oh, wait a minute.
Oh, Mr. Barry
Slid under the
Merrill.
bell.
My name is Barry Merrill. I live on Club Knowles Road in Dudley, and my phone number is 919-922-1499. I pray for each of you gentlemen, and I pray for this board. A year ago, my daughter blessed Marilyn and I with 2 grandbabies, and they're precious and beautiful. We're raising them in our house in Dudley. And I held them this morning at 3 o'clock, rocking them to sleep. I promise to do my best for them. And one of those things is to provide a good education for them. As I mentioned, we live in Dudley, and our children, our grandchildren would go to low-performing schools. We can change that. You can change that. And I believe that we can. It's going to take some work and it's going to take some leadership from this board and from the Board of Education. But that can happen. That can change. And I ask you to, not only for mine and my kids, but for grandchildren and children in Mount Olive and Dudley and Goldsboro and Eastern Wayne, and frankly across Wayne County, we need to fix our schools. And I believe there's an opportunity. I believe there's a door opening that can happen, and I believe that you can make that happen. I also know that we've got 2 new school board members, and we've got Mr. West as chairman of the school board. I think some things are ripe for things to change. So I think there's definitely a door opening. I also know from talking with Joe Scott, there's excitement and potential in our county for things to change and move forward, for some economic growth. But unfortunately, we're losing jobs, we're losing new industry, we're losing good young professionals that we would love to come to this county. We're losing property values. People cannot climb out of poverty, and we're fighting more and more crime because it's all linked to our schools. It's all linked to our schools. And I ask you, not only ask you, I beg you, please try to make some things happen to change that. I've got 3 specific proposals for you. It's not going to happen unless there's a partnership between this board and the Board of Education to change things. And I call on Mr. Gurley and to work with Mr. West and figure out how we can improve and fix our schools, and Mr. Honeycutt to continue working with Dr. Dunsmore and have a partnership. Walk side by side, because it won't happen unless you walk side by side. Number 2, and probably as important, it's going to take money to fix these things. We've got crushing facility needs across this county, and we're going to need money to work on that. The state's going to help us, and I know the state's going to help us, but unless we have matching funds, there's a lot of things that cannot happen, it won't happen, that need to happen. And we need to pay our teachers more. We cannot attract the teachers to this county, and we cannot retain the good teachers we need to change things in our schools. Again, we're going to need money to pay teachers. Third, and maybe most important, we need to change the way in which this board is elected and the Board of Education is elected. Districts are great, and I appreciate districts, but unless everybody that sits on that dais and every member of the Board of Education can say, I'm responsible for every parent and every voter in this county. So I'm asking you to put yourself up before every voter in this county, so you can't say, I'm going to vote for the people in my district and represent my district well and not represent all of the county. Those 3 things need to happen. I pray for you, continue to pray for you, Godspeed to do God's work.
Thank you. Anyone else? If not, public comment time's closed. And Mr. Honeycutt, we got a 9:15 public hearing.
Yes, sir.
And I ask you to introduce.
Would like to introduce Julie Metz. Oh, hey, Julie. Julie Metz is with Downtown Goldsboro Development Association.
Sure.
I'm close, but Julie's here, again, she was here in November to talk about some historic tax credits for some redevelopment of some buildings downtown. That time is kind of past. The project was kind of dormant for a while. It is now back moving forward. And since it is now moving forward, we felt like we needed to have another public hearing. So if there's an agreement to be approved, we could do that. So we'll turn it over to Julie.
Good morning, gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be here. I don't have cake or presents, but I do have an $11 million private investment project for your consideration. Not much has changed. I'm going to move through this very quickly. If you want to pause me and have any questions, happy to do so. In fact, this is the same slide presentation I showed to you a little over a year ago. Just to refresh, this project will affect 6 historic buildings in downtown, most of which have been vacant for decades and are in need of significant reinvestment to put them back into productive use. 4 are currently owned by the city, of which you once owned and donated 2 to see something happen to them. Total combined square footage is just under 70,000 square feet. The project considered 2 vacant lots and turning them into parking spaces. The project will result in approximately 57 residential units downtown of market rate quality. And then also the project will put back into use a little over 12,000 square feet of commercial space for first floor commercial retail types of space for lease. The company is Rehab Development out of Raleigh. Patrick Riley, the president, is here today if you have any specific questions. He has excellent qualifications and experience throughout the state as well as several other states in doing these types of projects with this kind of capacity. The total investment to the buildings is under just around $8 million, but the total investment project is probably right around $11 million. Just to give you some indicator of the economic impacts that this project will have, in North Carolina, every resident that lives in a downtown adds $9,000 a year to sales tax revenues or sales revenues. So this project will affect probably about $600,000 in new revenues to downtown businesses each year. So we're really excited about that, not to mention the property tax revenues that we will all appreciate. The rent rates for these residential units will range from $695 to $1,200, depending on the square footage of the space. Here's some pictures of what the buildings look like on the inside now, to give you some reference, so you can fully appreciate it when they're done. Here is a project that Patrick Riley and his team did. I believe this is in Concord. So it gives you some idea of the before and afters and what we can expect here. So to get back to the particulars of the agreement, like I said, nothing has changed since I came to you in November of 2017. The incentive that we've identified as appropriate is still the same. And just to refresh, is a 50% landmark threshold on the tax value of the properties. That is mandated by the state and the fact that they qualify for historic landmark status. So there will be a 50% cap on the tax of those properties moving forward. The MSD, the Municipal Service Tax District, is not affected into this agreement. The tax performance-based grant is a 10-year period, with the first 5 years being a 90%. So the investor will pay the taxes based on the taxes. Once he's paid them, you'll give him a grant of 90% of that back for the first 5 years, and then you'll see the declining scale of that to year 10, and then year 11, he'd be taxed fully based on the value of the property. So the total tax grant based on the investment projected would be about $310,000 to the developer. The city of Goldsboro alone, not with the county, is giving a performance-based grant of $300,000 to make this project happen. And we are also, the city is selling the properties, the portion that we own, the 4, to the developer at for $0. The developer also has an agreement with Mr. David Wheel for the sale of the other 2 properties, which is Wayne National Bank and the 2-story building beside it. Also, the agreement stipulates that both the city and the county will have rooftop access for broadband service for county residents. That is in the agreement as well. So tax revenues, just to give you some indication, I think I calculated this out just for the county. The county collects just $1,523 a year on these 6 properties. So after year 10, after the agreement period has been realized, you will receive a little over $23,000 in taxes each year. The incentive, the revenue amount is less than 4% of the developer's investment, and that includes the city grant amount. So if you exclude that, it's less than 1% based on the property tax revenue grant portion. So updates, reason it's taken so long before I'm here today and why we're having another public hearing, really is, when I left you, we had an idea of the particulars of what we wanted to have stipulated in the agreement, but all the attorneys representing the different three parties had to circulate the agreement around multiple times to get it to their liking. And then, unfortunately, then after that, we had the agreements, we had some documents proving that the city and the county were willing to provide some incentives to make this project happen. The developer went out to shop lenders, which took a little while. These are complex projects, and the tax credits make them even more difficult for a lot of lenders to understand. So you have to have somebody that has some experience in these kinds. But we were able to find a lender this past fall, and then at the same time, the Department of Revenue at the state decided to change the way that they accept partnerships in the syndication of tax credit projects. So that has put a pause on this project. We are working very diligently at the local level with our representatives in the state, as well as through our different organizations such as the League of Municipalities, the Metropolitan Mayors Coalition, the North Carolina Downtown Development Association, the Eastern Chamber Alliance. All of us are working together to make sure that there's a correction made in the way that they examine these partnerships in the syndication of the tax credits, and to also assure that the state historic preservation tax credits do not sunset as scheduled in December 31st of this year. We feel very hopeful that both of those issues will be remedied, and so the agreement has been recirculated around between all the parties. Andrew Neal and Ron Lawrence and Mr. Parker have been diligent about making sure everything is the way that you and our respective partners want it to be. So I have the agreements with me. I gave Andrew a copy for the city-county WNB agreement. And with your authorization, we can go ahead and execute these agreements. So when the issues are resolved at the state level, we can begin construction hopefully by the end of this summer. Any questions for me? All right, thank you, gentlemen.
Are there any individuals that would like to speak on this project? Any commissioner? If not, this public hearing.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
for my clarification, and our citizens that has asked a question, the only thing that the county is going to have invested in this is the tax incentives, correct?
Yes, sir, there's no direct cash.
There's no direct money
Right.
flowing out of our fund balance or anything. It's
Right.
just the tax incentives.
Right, and if you look at it, the valuation of those buildings now compared to what it will be, even with the incentives, we will be in the black.
Well, I understand that.
Yes,
You
sir.
understand that. And the city understands that. But
Yes, sir.
some people don't understand
Yes,
that.
sir.
I just want it clear that,
Yes, sir.
this is, in the
There's
long
no
run,
direct-
we're going to benefit from it in the long run.
Yes, sir,
Okay.
very much so.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to ask a question. It's, Ms. Julie, it's a question that I just want to see if you can give me the answer. I noticed that up there it said 50% property tax deferral for life if it's a historical district. Is that relevant to all historical districts, or is this something special for this one?
It's not necessarily pertaining to the historic district, it's pertaining to the historic significance of the structures themselves. So that not all of them qualified in these six properties. I believe it was just 4. 2 of them had been transformed so much that the historic integrity was no longer intact. So it has to do more with the significance of the structure, and you have to go through a process of asking the State Historic Preservation Office to bless it, and then also your Historic District Commission to get approval, and then also your local representatives.
I think I'm speaking apples to apples, but throughout the county and small towns, there are historical districts designated. Is that apples and apples, or am I talking apples and oranges?
No, you're right, and the fact that a historic property is in the district makes it as a good sign, but it's not a slam dunk that it will get to that level of historic significance. In my district, in the Goldsboro district, we have 4 different classifications of properties. Properties that aren't contributing to the district, they're not considered historic. Properties that are contributing, and then properties that are deemed significant, and then historic or National Register status. So there's qualifications or classifications for each.
Thank you, sir.
I'm Patrick Riley, the president of Rehab Development, and just to maybe put a little more color on your question, because it's a good one, and I think you might be asking it for reasons that are broader.
Broad.
There's everything Julie said is correct, but there are buildings that are probably in Wayne County that someone could take through the landmark tax status process to see if the state would approve it for historic landmark tax status, and then if they were going to and your local commission was going to, then they would also be eligible for the landmark tax status consideration.
In the neighborhood that I live in, there are a good number of houses that has a historical designation. A lot of them, including mine, are inhabited by older citizens. And it just perked my curiosity to know, was there some relationship to what this is, and if I needed to explore it any further to benefit our constituency, although I know folk are interested in, governmental folk are interested in people paying as much tax as they can, but I'm one of those people, like leave as much money in my pocket as I can also. Thank you for that. I think that adds a little bit of color to it. Thank you.
When he gets through talking. Y'all ready? Since we've already been through this once, can we move on this today, or?
Yeah, close the public hearing.
But we can close the public hearing and vote on it, okay?
Anyone else wish to speak? If not, public hearing is closed.
Mr. Chairman, since I just said we've been through this before and we approved it before, I make the motion that we approve it again and move forward.
Motion's been made. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. Thank you. Next be a appointment committee report from Commissioner Aycock.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. We have several reappointments this morning. I'd like to make a motion we reappoint Tasha Hunter to the Community Child Facility Prevention Team, and that's in form of a motion.
All right, motion's made. Any discussion? If not, all of those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand.
Also, we'd like to reappoint Mr. Eddie Pitzer and Suzanne Chrissy Lewis to the Animal Control Advisory Committee, form of a motion.
All right, motion made. Any discussion? No discussion. All in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. Thank you.
Also, I'd like to reappoint Ms. Hazel Bess, Dorothy Owens, Bessie Scott, and Clarence Smith to the Nursing Home Community Advisory Committee. That's in form of a motion.
Any discussion? All in favor, please signify by raising your right hand.
That's all we have this morning, Mr. Chairman. Just we do have some openings on some other committees, and I'd like to encourage citizens in the county to go on the county website and look at those positions. And if you feel like you can benefit the county by serving on some of those committees, please fill out the application. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Aycock. Mr. Honeycutt, we've got unfinished business, long awaited here.
Long awaited. I'd like to introduce Mr. Jim Stumbo, who is with Stuart Cooper Newell Architects.
Oh, yeah.
Who did the original design work for our 911 OES Center. And with that being said, I will turn it to Jim.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Welcome back.
Very pleased to be here today. Today, I'm here to make a recommendation for the award of the contracts for the 911 Center. The 19th of last month, we accepted 5 bids, 2 of them from local contractors, 3 of them from regional contractors for the construction of the 911 Center. Jackson Builders of Goldsboro was the apparent low bidder, and it is our recommendation that as they are the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, we award the contract to Jackson Builders for the amount of $3,981,971 for the base bid and the allowances for the project. Assuming that the commissioners award that today, we would anticipate a schedule that would require the contracts to be in place within 4 to 6 weeks, which would be our office putting the contracts together, the contractor obtaining the insurance and the bonds, review of those by the county attorney, and then approval by the commissioners, thereupon putting a notice to proceed roughly the end of April, the 1st of May. That would be a point where we would see the construction begin. The construction contracts would run for 365 days, putting a occupancy roughly a year from the 1st of May. Any questions?
Great job.
Thank you. We're pleased to be here.
For the first time in a while.
Do you want in motion?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion that we move forward with the 911 Center and award the low bid to Jackson Builders, and so we can get moving on this. And this project's going to be a great asset to the county, and I'm honored to make this motion. This in form of a motion, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Aycock. Y'all have heard the motion. Any discussion? Mr. Mayor?
Excuse me, boy, I thought this was something we're going to discuss in closed session. Am I correct? Okay. I want to ask the question. I'd like to know the financing of this. How are we going to finance? What are we going to do?
As part of this project, a couple of years ago, the county has already allocated $4 million from our fund balance. So that has already been into our allocated fund balance. And also the county has also received grant funding from the 911 board to help with this project. So the funding for this project is complete.
And actually, the money for this project was unspent money from fiscal year 15-16. If y'all remember, it's about $5.6 million, close to $6 million we did not spend. So we kind of earmarked it for this and the EMS stations and the Shell building, I think.
Right. But this, you know, as far as if you look at our accounting today, this is not unallocated fund balance, this is allocated fund balance. So this is specific to this project, so the money has already been set aside.
Okay, so question to Allison. The unencumbered fund balance that we have now includes the 911 budget. In other words, the money was already there.
Right, it would have been restricted in the audit.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Okay. Well, my point is that for the record going forward this year, since we are on a tight budget, as you know, I'm an advocate for keeping an eye on our fund balance. I'm going to have some real questions going forward as to money coming from our fund balance. The last time, and Allison, I don't know if you had a chance or not, but I think that we've got somewhere in the neighborhood of 13, 14 million unencumbered in our fund balance. When I came on this board in 2012, it was double that, and that was too high. But we're sort of getting to an area we need to be concerned. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
So that's the only.
Yes,
I'm for the 911
Right.
center, 100%.
Right.
Okay. I
Right.
just want to make sure that we don't continue to take $500,000 here,
Right.
$750,000 there out of our fund balance in order to make these things happen.
Right. And if you look at our fund balance, this has already been allocated to specifically for this project. So we won't have to go back into the unencumbered and make a transfer.
Okay, thank you. Good.
Everybody good? All right, motion been made by Commissioner Aycock. All in favor, please signify by raising your right hand.
Raise them high. Raise them high.
Mr. Chairman, if I could say, I do want to give special thanks to our Facilities Committee, to Commissioner Aycock, also for the work that has been done on this, and also to Jim Stumbo and his firm. We have kind of put them through the ringer on making sure that we have gotten this project within budget as much as possible. And I just wanted to publicly, it's been a slow project, but there's been a lot of work, and this has been a priority project for this board, but also we appreciate the work that Jim's done as well.
Absolutely.
Get the shovels ready.
Okay, next is our consent agenda. We had a review of it at 8 a.m. briefing. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Motion is made. Any discussion? All in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. Thank you. Now, Mr. Honeycutt, new business.
I would like to introduce Graham Price. Graham, if you would like to come up, please. Graham is our new director of our animal control. Graham started on February 25th, so this is day 7, I believe, of him being with Wayne County in this position. However, this is not Graham's first day in being in Wayne County. Graham is a lifelong resident of Wayne County. He graduated from Rain Christian School in 2003, associate arts degree from Wayne Community College. He has lived in the county for 34 years. He worked in Johnson County. He worked for the county in our animal control division for 4 years. And then he went to work for Johnson County as the assistant director for 5 years. And we're glad to have him back. So we appreciate Graham and his work, and we're excited about the relationships that he is building with our animal community, and I'm excited about the direction and what he brings to the table. So with that said, I'll introduce Graham.
Thank you, sir. Very thankful to be back in Wayne County. Very honored to be here.
All right. Thank you, Graham.
Thank you.
We're glad to have you back too, especially that you came from Johnson County.
We're picking off the Johnson
That's right,
County
we are
people.
picking
That's right. Yeah, we're picking all the good ones off. So. Next is number 2 under new business. Motion to approve the cancellation of all fee waivers due to Hurricane Florence. In talking with Steve Stroud, we feel like that all hurricane-related permits have been issued and been taken care of. We have been waiving those fees, but now we feel like that has come to an end, and would like to get a motion from the board to agree to stop the fees waiving as of today.
Mr. Chairman, I move that to approve the cancellation of all fee waivers due to Hurricane Florence.
All right. Heard the motion. Any discussion? All in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. Thank you. Now, Mr. Honeycutt, comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple of things. Wanted to let you know we are starting the budget process with staff. Monday morning, we have a department head meeting with staff to go over our budget books, and it's our orientation meeting. So the process is moving forward. We're already working on our CIP, working with staff on that as well. The one thing that I would like to ask from the board, if you remember from our goals and objectives meeting, if there's additional goals and objectives that you would like to, for the board and the staff to consider moving forward in this coming year's budget, please let me know so we can try to incorporate those as part of the budget process. But again, it's budget season, and I appreciate Allison and Janice and all the work that they've done so far. Any questions about that? Second, I do want to mention it's a good day at the Wayne County Jetport. We have had, as the board is aware, we've been working with Chris Kresge and Milda ATP on a land lease out there for the corporate area expansion. Mr. Kresge did sign the lease this past Sunday, 2 leases.
2 pads.
2 pads, for 2 pads. Which is really very, very important for us because part of the grants that we've been working on with Golden Leaf for economic development and job creation was tied to Mr. Kresge. So we're excited about that. So those grants, we're meeting the full requirements of those grants. So we're very excited about all the different activities that are happening at the Jetport. And again, under the consent agenda, you did approve setting a public hearing in April to look at renegotiating our lease with UNC Air. So we're very excited. A lot of good things are happening in Wayne County, and just glad to be here.
Thank you. Mr. Mayo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess they attended several meetings, but I guess the main one was we had a Department of Social Services Board meeting, and I guess after many, many years, I wanted to share some information that actually just came out last Monday. You know, some of you as commissioners have sat on the DSS board and know the problems that we've had with NC Fast over the years. Commissioner Pate, you aware of it? Commissioner Daugherty, Commissioner Marty. Finally, I wanted to share some news. As a collaboration in 2017, the Social Services Regional Supervision and Collaboration Working Group was formed to do a study of NC Fast Project for Child Welfare. And here is the recommendation. Now, keep in mind, this was sent out by Kim Harrell, who's the North Carolina Association of County Directors of Social Services. But at the same time, the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners also is joining in this recommendation. But I just want to share a couple sentences here. There has been a tremendous amount of collaborative time put in by this working committee over the past 18 months. Based on these concerns, despite our collective and substantial efforts, the system continues to be extremely cumbersome with inaccurate and unreliable data. Well, we already knew that, basically. But here's the recommendation to the legislature in just a couple sentences. Recommendation is to immediately re-examine the plan to use NC Fast for the aspects of the child welfare and audit services programs that require case management functionality. Success of social services system reform requires an information system that adequately supports county administration, allows counties to share information with one another, and enables the state to support and monitor program administration at the county level, and provides clear and reliable information to the public. This is the key. Reevaluation of the use of NC Fast is critical and time sensitive. So finally, after all these years, there's been enough studies done that hopefully in the future we can have something in place besides NC Fast. It will still be there as part of what we're doing, but it is not compatible with child welfare and adult service programs. So it's just a matter of information. Of course, our county manager was there at our DSS meeting. Am I pretty correct in what I'm saying, Craig?
Yes, sir, you are. Basically, what the Directors Association is saying is they're wanting to implement different modules, and the modules are not ready to implement. In the test areas where they've implemented the Child Protective Services module is not working. So what the County Association directors are asking is saying, listen, slow down the process. And before you mandate that we have to do this, make sure it works first. I believe we are stuck with NC Fast for income maintenance and for a lot of the modules. However, we don't have to add on additional modules that are not working when we already have modules that we're doing workaround on now. So it's really to slow down the process and make sure that they get it right.
Yeah.
Good.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Can I jump in on that?
Mr. Bailey, comment?
Because I did sit on that board and went through the implementation and all that, it costs counties, not just this county, a lot of counties, a lot of money to go through this process, and then got criticized by the state for not getting the job done with a product that they delivered to the counties that never worked in the first place.
That is correct.
And we, as a county, should always be careful whatever software package that we do buy, that it does work before we can go into implementation and have some sort of dual role somehow.
Yes, sir.
But NC Fast is just a disaster from the get-go, and you just can't make it work.
We call it NC Slow,
That's
if you
right.
remember.
That's right.
Yeah, we do.
Commissioner Cromartie?
Thank you, sir. I had an opportunity to attend the DSS meeting, and I don't believe I'll be able to add anything else to what my colleague here has so adequately shared with you all. Also, the Board of Health meeting, I attended it since our previous meeting. Also, I would like to give a shout out to Mount Olive. Carver Alumni Association had a real nice Black History recognition program. A young lady spoke who had graduated from Southern Wayne, and she went through a litany of folk who had played significant roles in promoting Black history events and the people who made history. And so I would just like to recognize them. Saturday, folk put on a Black History Parade in Mount Olive. I did not participate in it. I watched it, which I seem like in recent years I've been watching them more from my daughter's porch than being involved in them as a participant. But it's always good to see folk out sharing some history. Also, I hope it's okay with the sheriff, I would like to say that I attended a ceremony that he was in charge of, the promotion of Lieutenant Cates to Captain Cates, and he's over the SRO group. And it was such an enlightening. Although I had known Lieutenant Cates for some years, Sheriff, I didn't know he had had that many various experiences in his portfolio. And number one, thank you for recognizing all those things he did, and then thank you for selecting someone with all that various experience that he brings to the table. Thank you for adding to the diversity of the leadership in your department, and I would want all the departments to use you as an example to look for good young folk to promote to leadership positions, and thank you again. I also, during that time, had an opportunity to attend a Black History promotion at Brogdon Middle School. It was as lively as anything that I has had an opportunity to attend, just that school spirit. And the reason that the second reason, it was interesting to be there, but the second reason I wanted to bring that up is Mr. Merrill spoke about the schools that are in our economically depressed areas and educationally challenged at times. But that's one of the schools right in the heart of Dudley, Southern Wayne County. And although they have their challenges, they are not without spirit. The teachers heavily involved, having fun with the children, and I want to put a plug in for what he said. Good education is going to cost money. And while we will always hold our hand tightly on the purse string so that we do not go broke, we must look to make good, firm decisions and progressive decisions about trying to bring our school system forward. And of course, that is dependent upon our board and the school board analyzing what we're doing and making good decisions about that. It's not going to happen on one or the other side. It's going to happen on both sides. So I just wanted to throw those little plugs in for the communities. And just to add one last thing to that, I don't think Mr. Mayor minded me saying that he's not in the newspaper business anymore. It sounds like he's strictly just in the grandpa business. So thank you, sir.
Commissioner Daugherty.
It was a good day to see the anniversary, the first year anniversary of the Maxwell Center. Our memory goes back in regards to all of the work that was done on trying to come up with the plans and so forth, and to see it being a success. One of the things I do want to point out, and that is we knew on the front end that most convention centers lose money. And that's why it was so important that we had our legislative delegation work hard to get the legislation there to increase our tourism tax so that we would have some funds to offset those costs. To be 1 year later, and in the first year actually to have a small profit, was really remarkable, really remarkable. I failed to give James an idea today, but this past weekend I attended not one, but two home and garden shows. Now my wife just loves to go to those home and garden shows. But as I walked through the one in Greenville and the one in Moorhead, I wondered why in the world we were not doing something similar to that. Because what you have is basically a show where your local businesses come and they shine, and they are able to get a great deal of business. So it really creates additional business within the community. I reached out to one of the individuals and I said, how much does it cost to put on one of these? Oh, well, we don't handle that. The Home Builders Association in Greenville, Pitt County handles it, and also somewhere else. It may be that the county may have to actually sponsor that during its first year so that other groups could pick it up going forward. But I think it's something that we really do. We definitely are set up to where we can do that. And I think it's something that we need to project. That'll be all the comments I'm sorry, there was one other thing. There was. At least I caught it before it got down to the other end. I did attend a meeting of the parents at Edgewood School. And I know I have a reputation of being a hard nose, but I was extremely moved by that meeting. And this board and the school board needs to find some way to keep Edgewood together. It is a community of those parents that actually have those children that go to that school. It is an absolutely bond within that school. And I think we need to find some way to keep that school going as a complete school rather than dividing it up. As one parent stated to me, and I hadn't thought about this, if you want to kill something, divide it, separate it. Again, I think it's something that we desperately need to work with the school board to find one way to keep that together. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I second that. Commissioner Bell.
I attended one meeting last Thursday with the wages board. But the only thing I have to report is that the federal government gave them enough money where they could give all the employees over there a pay raise at no expense to the state or the county. So each worker over there is going to get a 1.7 to a 2% pay raise. So I thought that was pretty good, you know, to give those people that. And the funding that they provided for them, I forgot the amount now, was all federal fund, no local or no state fund involved. So wages is doing pretty good and providing the service for the K grade school kids, plus senior centers, Meals on Wheels and all that kind of stuff at no expense to the county. So I thought that was pretty good. And I think that's about it.
Thank you. Commissioner Aycock.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll keep mine brief. But I do want to mention last Friday, the ribbon cutting at EMS Station Number 1, which was the station that replaces the old EMS station at Seven Springs. Very excited for that section of the county to be able to have an EMS station back in their location. As everyone knows, the station in Seven Springs flooded. Elroy Fire Department was gracious enough to let us intrude for over 2 years in their substation, and I really want to thank them for working with us and appreciate what goes on in that section of the county. Also, I'd like to, thank the staff and different department heads and different departments was involved in making that EMS station, and the other 3 that's in the process of being built now move forward. Station 7, which is the Fremont Station, will be moving to Nahunta Road. From what I understand, we're looking at 4 to 5 weeks before that station will be having a ribbon cutting at it, and very excited about that. If we can get these other stations built and in service, we will accomplish our 8-minute response time all over the county, and that's something we had been dreaming about for a long time. And just want to thank everybody that's involved in that. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Hey.
I'm finally well. I had that bronchitis mess that went around, and I stayed sick for about 6 weeks, and I missed a lot of meetings. I did. But thank God I am finally well and through that stuff. I did have an opportunity to go to a dinner in place of the chairman the other night. Former general commander of the base was here, and his wife, and Colonel Yates, the mayor, and various other folks over here at Greek. And it was a really nice dinner. And the general asked us, what can I take back that can help this community? And we talked about schools. We really did, and the problems that we're having. And it's still a concern of theirs as well. So glad to have a chance to meet him. He's a very nice gentleman. And one of the most interesting folks that I did meet there I thought was a young guy that, I'm old, I guess now. And he turned out to had gone to be a pilot, but they sent him to be a drone pilot. And when he graduated from pilot school, they sent him out to Las Vegas to fly drones to do airstrikes in Syria and Afghanistan. And he was quite an interesting person to talk to. And the technology that this country has is just amazing. It really is. Went to the EMS, and I want to thank Public Information doing a great job of recording that, and they did a good job of that. Had a meet and greet before that at the chamber. Well attended, you could barely get in the room, and it was nice to have an opportunity to talk to some of our legislators, which it's not like we don't get to see them often anyway, but it's always good to talk with them. And your words have a lot of meaning, Mr. Merrill, and what you were saying as well. I've had a number of phone calls about about the Edgewood School. And while our dollars are limited, as pointed out by Mr. Mayo, I think there's some ways that we possibly can structure this thing that helps all the kids, and the Board of Education and ourselves can march together and do the right thing. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
As many of you know, May 1st is County Commissioner Day at the General Assembly, as well as the NCACC meeting day as well. And Senator Perry contacted and asked for those who attend to stop by his office and chat with him a little bit. He also would like to take us out to dinner or lunch with those who are attending, assuming we can follow protocol. And then last week I attended the Livestock Development Association along with Commissioner Aycock. Mr. Pate a plan to go, but he was still sick. But they announced their many awards they won nationally for the regional fair, and it was quite impressive. But also, they announced some winners of scholarships, in total about $22,645. And $16,800 went to kids here in Wayne County for college scholarships. $5,000 went to the animal science program at Southern Wayne High School and CBA-COC, and of course, they also contributed $845 to the ECA clubs, which was very good for those clubs. And I was talking to President Mark Hood, and he said he wanted to express his and their board's sincere appreciation to our board for all of our support for the Livestock Association. And Carol handed me this today, and it's quite notable that March begins severe weather season in North Carolina this week. March 3rd to 9th is Severe Weather Awareness Week and Safety Week. And I think hopefully everybody got a email from Craig Brown yesterday, and he'll follow it more this week. But as important, keep the people in southeast Alabama in our prayers following the devastation, tornadoes over the weekend. Right, counting now, at least 23 were killed and many more were injured. So it's that time of the year for tornadoes. Anything else?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to add on something, Mr. Aycock. Mr. Aycock, the emergency building down in Mount Olive is progressing real well. I slowed up past there yesterday, and the guys are in there working. And I think one of them said that the emergency room could be added on to that. Just thought I'd toss that little bit in there.
I failed to get that memo.
I was gonna mention that, come on.
I know you were. I just want to make sure we didn't lose sight of the possibility.
If there's nothing else, shall we go to closed session for the purpose of?
Same reason we went before.
Okay.
Motion to close session.
Motion closed session, all say signify by raising your right hand.